I reflectively asked Yu Jung-hyuk, "Do you know these people?" "Just one of them." Yu Jung-hyuk knew the Salvation Church? Well, he would have met them in the second regression. I was also familiar with the Salvation Church. According to the original novel, the Salvation Church was a group that completely abandoned the stereotypes of the word salvation. There is no salvation in the afterlife. The first sermon of the Salvation Church began with this: "The most important thing is the story, and today is what we need to liberate ourselves from." At first glance, their doctrine had no problem. It gave importance to the present, not the past or the future. It was a story I heard many times, even before the destruction came. The Salvation Church mumbled unintelligible words while leading enormous forces. The elephants making harsh cries were the 7th grade Desert Thorn elephants. There was a person among them who could tame the elephants. Oh, the Salvation Church! The incarnations cheered at the splendid appearance. I was a bit nervous. The Salvation Church had already appeared. Someone was intervening in the future I knew. It was also a very strong presence. I heard a voice from the elephant in the front. "Young incarnations, the Salvation Church has come. We will free you from the scenario." At these words, the Salvation members spread out their arms towards the incarnations. Some of the incarnations came forward. "What do you mean by liberation from the scenario?" "Literally what I said. I will give you freedom from the scenarios." The words were still elusive, but they were appropriate to tempt the incarnations. Liberation, freedom. Some incarnations were prepared, but for most of the incarnations who were forced into this place, they were sweet words. Can we become stronger if we enter the Salvation Church?" Some incarnations were already convinced, while others were more conscious. They believed in immediate power rather than the vague words of salvation. "Stronger." A shadow moved on the palanquin atop the elephant. The gender of the voice couldn't be identified. "What do you think strength is?" Gazes focused on the man who asked the original question, as he said it with a red face. "Well, strength is to be powerful, or to have strong skills. Isn't that what it means?" "A strong power and strong skills. Something like this." Magic power slowly stretched from the palanquin and formed a giant palm. It was magic power manifestation. A technique that could be used by a returnee was being implemented by a mere incarnation in the scenario. The constellation Prisoner of the Golden Headband is hostile towards the palm. A huge palm that was overwhelming covered the sky and fell towards the man. "Wah!" Everyone screamed at the overwhelming magic. The moment the palm covered the incarnations, it transformed into wind and disappeared. A warm and gentle airflow surrounded the incarnation. "You are pursuing fleeting things. Strength and weaknesses are all images made by stories." The curtain of the palanquin was lifted and something emerged. Like a bright sun rising, a light was emitted from the whole body. It was like a god descending as the light landed on the ground. Then I realized something. I hadn't thought that the salvation leader I knew would already come into the scenario. The incarnation who asked for strength hesitated and opened his mouth. What does that... Can I become stronger if I go under you?" The Lord of the Salvation Church spoke with a benevolent smile. "There is no meaning." No meaning?" "Poor living thing trapped in a pile of time. You are now being deceived by the story." The hand of the Salvation leader touched the forehead of the incarnation. "Tell me, who inspired you to be strong? Why do you want to be stronger?" The incarnation opened his mouth like he was possessed. Being strong can survive? What does it mean to survive?" To survive is to survive. Become stronger and live. It was repeated like a silly song. However, maybe this was the honest answer. The Salvation asked, "Is that your life?" What? "If you live all day in order to be stronger, where is your life?" As if realizing something that he shouldn't be aware of, the body of the incarnation shook. "My life is, Tears flowed from the man's eyes. The man continued crying without understanding the meaning of his tears. Whenever a human faced an incomprehensible emotion, they would try to forcibly gain an answer. Everyone watching the scene felt a sense of exultation. It was as if they had been waiting for someone to fix the situation. The Salvation leader wiped the tears of the man, and some people sighed. "This is the trap of the story." I looked up at the air, and the Dokubi seemed to be listening with interest. The leader of the Salvation Church declared, "Don't be eaten in the future." every word wedged into the hearts of the incarnations. Don't be fooled by the salvation of the afterlife that will come someday. All the incarnations who just entered the scenario watched, spellbound. Whether they understood it or didn't understand it, the words became a sound that permeated everyone's heart. The salvation leader continued speaking. Salvation is here now, and here is where you should be. Live and protect the present. Regain human pride without being eaten in the future. Struggle here, then leave yourself with a new story. It is the only way to be liberated from the scenario. It was beautiful to hear, at least if the person saying it wasn't the Salvation Church's leader. I looked at Yu Jung-hyuk. Yu Jung-hyuk. Yu Jung-hyuk was also pulling out a sword. There was a fierce killing intent on his face. It is a great way to train a suicide unit with tremendous bullshit. The Salvation leader turned around and looked at Yu Jung-hyuk's words. The moment they locked eyes, Yu Jung-hyuk demanded, You better turn it off and leave, Salvation leader. You! A vast wave of air seemed to encroach on the surroundings, and the Salvation leader started to slowly fly to this side. The person wearing the gara and flying in the sky gave off an exotic atmosphere like a fairy. The leader of the Salvation Church called out, Yu Jung-hyuk. Why? A beautiful smile spread on the face of the Salvation leader. Yu Jung-hyuk, do you know how long I have been looking for you? He was stronger than any incarnation I encountered before. According to the original novel, it should be a long time before this person appeared. Thus, I wasn't prepared for him. I quietly activated the character list. The exclusive skill character list is activated. There is too much information about this person. Character list is converted to summary list. Then a message I saw for the first time popped up. There's still too much relevant information about this person. Character list will try to summarize it again. The information summary has failed. The relevant information of the person can't be summarized. It was ridiculous. It was impossible to summarize the information. I thought for a moment before changing the setting to only the first attribute of the person. The settings of the summary list have been changed. Character list summary. Name, Nirvana Mobius. Attribute, Reincarnator, Legend. I got goosebumps the moment I got the information. Damn it, it was really him. The third way to survive in a ruined world. The person in front of me was the third method, the Reincarnator, Nirvana. A human who wasn't a human. Yu Jung-hyuk! It was a jubilant voice. I watched the man approaching and my palms became wet with tension. This person's mindset was different from ordinary humans. No matter how much I read Ways of Survival, there was a limit to how much I could take advantage of him. So what should I do? Nirvana smiled brightly and spread open his arms. Yu Jung-hyuk, become one with me! At this moment, I understood how I could use him. Nirvana clearly remembered the first moment he woke up in this world. Funnily enough, Nirvana was a diving beetle. As soon as he opened his eyes, Nirvana was eaten by a frog. In the next life, Nirvana was born as a frog. It wasn't an easy life. In that life, he was eaten by a rattlesnake and died. Nirvana became a rattlesnake the life after that. At least I can eat frogs. In that life, Nirvana was killed by an anaconda. In the next life, Nirvana was born as an anaconda. I will eat all snakes. In that life, Nirvana evolved into a powerful monster. Soon after, he experienced the crisis of being hunted by humans. The humans, blinded by rewards, harmed him, and Nirvana suffered great injuries. On the brink of death, Nirvana hid from the hunters in the forest. However, he was noticed by a human. You look injured. Why? The human didn't hurt him. The man took care of his wounds and then released him into the forest. Nirvana couldn't understand kindness, but he remembered this man's hand for a long time. Then Nirvana was born as a human. The constellation, Mandala's protector, is observing your life. Nirvana knew someone was watching him. He later realized it was a so-called constellation. Since then, Nirvana continued to be born as a human. He became an excellent farmer, and then the person who led the farmers. He became a soldier, and then a sword master respected by soldiers. He was a slave, and then a noble who slaughtered slaves. He experienced countless deaths and lived countless lives. He went through numerous scenarios. Then he realized that he was the only special being in this universe. Only I am reincarnated with all my memories. This fact made him terribly lonely. He was lonely, so he enjoyed life even more. He lived as if he could never survive again. Only once had he lived like he had one life. He taught others how he lived, then he survived alone. One day, he received a message. You are caught in a huge wheel of time. Your reincarnation circuit is subject to the wheel of time. The constellation Mandala's protector feels pity toward your destiny. You are participating in the planetary system 8,612 scenarios. Nirvana came across a person, Yu Jung-hyuk. For the first time, he found someone who repeated their life. The form was different, but he was still bound to the wheel of eternity. You are like me! Just this allowed Nirvana to receive tremendous salvation. In the vast universe, there was someone who understood him. I failed in my past life. This time will be different. The Salvation Leader approached Yu Jung-hyuk and shouted, Yu Jung-hyuk! Nirvana watched Yu Jung-hyuk and laughed even more. Nirvana had been waiting for this day since he entered Yu Jung-hyuk's time. Yu Jung-hyuk, become one with me! Stop with the bullshit before I kill you. Nirvana laughed at Yu Jung-hyuk's attitude. He was bored, so that even felt cute. You pretend to hate me, but in fact, you want me more than anyone else. You need my strength. Last time Nirvana ruined his work, but this time would be different. Nirvana kept shouting, I'll help you! Have you forgotten your last failure? Only I can save you. I will liberate you from the wheel of, I don't need a person like you. What? Nirvana asked in a gloomy voice, and Yu Jung-hyuk glanced to his side before speaking again. I have a companion already.